welcome everybody to, well, I guess a community live stream. There wasn't any clever name for this, just, hey, let's all get together and talk about the game. So welcome to just a giant community live stream with quite a number of people. And I think that this is going to be a extremely positive night, and I want to just kind of remind everyone listening and just everyone watching the VOD as well is that we are going to be very, very optimistic here because the Reddit and forums just kind of blew up after the live stream event went dark, and also the news that Stephan Frost is going to be stepping down and not working at Carbine anymore. And man, it's just people went nuts, and I was like, you know what, this needs to not be the thing, and not what Stephan Frost remembers as his kind of last week and last hurrah at Carbine. So honestly, dude, this is kind of a shout out to you and kind of a in your honor type of thing, because you've been a huge part of WildStar, and it's just fantastic to see where you're going to go next, and we greatly honor you and the whole WildStar community. So I'd like to introduce our hosts. We do have Nick, or Avidguru, here from Wildcast.
Howdy, folks.
Hello. We have Sarkhan, or Chief Sarkhan, representing himself as the awesomeness. How's it going, sir?
Good evening.
Good evening, yes. We have Spee from the community, because me and him are going to be starting doing a new show, and I figured that this would be a awesome kind of, hey, this is what live streaming is like. Let's have fun. How's it going, buddy?
Hey.
Hey, he's like, don't die.
Yeah.
We have Jazzy Chua, or excuse me, Jazzy from
So
Jazzy
close.
Gaming, and the podcast This Week in WildStar. How's it going?
Wonderful.
Excellent, excellent. And last but certainly not least, we have Hollow, or Doc, I believe, as you are known on Strange Tales from Outer Space, which is another WildStar podcast. How's it going, sir?
I'm alive!
Yeah!
So far, it's working quite well.
That's good, that's good. He is actually currently on his phone in the middle of LA traffic trying not to die. So
Dedication.
Dedication. And
It's because I love you all, and I certainly am last and least, but it's all right.
no, dude. Everyone here is very important, especially you, the viewer, and you, the community member that you guys are watching and contributing in chat. I know that Jazzy and Chief are both hosting on their channels, so feel free to chat in their channels as well, and they'll be able to pull up any questions or comments that you do on their chat as well. We're still kind of learning how this actually works, and it's a fun experience. But I want to start off by kind of getting everyone's reactions to the live stream, and just to the way that the game is going to progress and everything. So I'm going to start with Avidguru, because you were first on the overlay, and I think that just makes more sense. So go ahead.
Well, let's see. In general, the live stream, I was glad to get a lot of the information from Donatelli, especially after they put up the state of the game as a post.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to get a little bit more interaction with him.
Right.
You know, Carbine, I think, is at this very interesting point with WildStar where they got to make the right moves. You know, they're in this trench right now, and they got to grow the game back out of this. I see them in a very similar position to where SWTOR ended up, and SWTOR right now is seeing a little bit of a renaissance, not huge,
Yeah.
but they are seeing a little bit of an influx of players back into the game. And, you know, I think WildStar definitely has the potential to do the same thing, but they got to make the right moves. And I thought what I saw today was very encouraging. I like it, but, you know, I'm holding my breath a little bit to see what they actually do.
And, you know, I think that's a fair point. I think everyone, including everyone that's been extremely positive and, you know, like, oh, this is the best game ever, blah, blah, blah. I think everyone's kind of doing that because it is at that tipping point where we need to really kind of encourage Carbine to make the right hard decisions, even if it doesn't make sense for them from, say, a standpoint of, you know, maybe taking away 40 mans altogether, or completely abandoning their hardcore aspect, which is something that they really kind of define their game to be, and as we've seen, that does not pay the bills, and I think World of Warcraft is a testament to that. I mean, I know you're not supposed to mention the other MMO, but let's be real here. I mean, the game itself is popular and going strong for a reason. So I think that if we as a community can get behind Carbine and support their decisions, even if we may not possibly agree with them or understand them right away, then it'll show them that the community is still willing to actually back them, even though they're going to make some hard calls. Moving right along to the reactions here, Jazzy, I'd like to get your thoughts next.
I actually kind of went the other way. After hearing the live stream today, I actually have quite a bit more faith than I probably had going into it, honestly. Just to hear and to even see, he had a stack of papers there, 100 pages, he said, of, patch notes. So just to kind of really hear, and he even kind of touched on a few more things that we hadn't heard them talk about, and to see and hear what they're doing and, what they have planned and what they're pushing forward gives me more faith that we can see kind of, a WildStar pick itself up from this stumble that it's had. So I am looking forward to that.
Okay. Now, did you feel that what was said in the live stream was good information, or did you want them to go in depth a little bit more?
I mean, I always want them to, of course.
Okay.
But, I mean, they can only say so much. But, I mean, I agree with Avid in the respect that they pretty much have to 100% nail this patch. I mean, this is kind of a make or break for them, quite honestly.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. I think that Drop 3 will definitely be their final stand, if you were. So I mean, personally, I have all the faith in Carbine, and I know that they'll do the right thing because so far they've owned up to their mistakes. Not a lot of developers do that. In fact, no developers really do that in probably the last 8 years of MMO development cycles.
Nah.
I mean, so it's nice to see them going, yeah, we completely screwed up, and here's why. Chief, I want to get your reactions next.
Well, so I didn't actually see the live stream.
Right.
I was working. I did read the report, the readout on it, and I see some good stuff there. Like you said, they're acknowledging some mistakes have been made. They're working hard to make the patch. While I disagree that patch 3 is a make or break completely,
Okay.
I think they do have to hit the mark if they want numbers to climb, not just stay steady.
Okay.
And so that, like you said, there's a fine balance there. And they have to make sure that they're hitting the mark of the amount of bug fixes versus just new content. Because I don't think right now the answer is a lot of new content. While it would be nice to see some new content, right now they need to make a stable product that people are on board with across the board. And that will include balancing out some of the systems, which they're aiming for more than they are new content.
Okay.
And so I'm optimistic. There's been a lot of churn at the top with a lot of the people in the company, and that's a little worrisome, but I think people got to do what's good for them, not just good for the company.
Correct.
So I'm not overly, how would you say it, concerned with the number of changes at the top, though it is saddening to see some of the people that we've known for years moving on. They have to do what's good for them and their family. So.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I mean, we even saw that Hugh Shelton is now working for Blizzard, and that's a huge thing. I mean, like this isn't a knock against Carbine, but going from a small company like Carbine to a huge company like Blizzard, that's a huge accomplishment for him. And, like him or hate him, I know a lot of the community was like, oh, he's gone, thank God, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, he did a fantastic job. And I think people were way too quick to kind of get on the hate train, which really kind of pissed me off, honestly. And, it's kind of a joke to them. It's like, hey, he did his job so well that Blizzard wants to hire this guy. So in your face, haters. So, I mean, it's something that it's really encouraging to see the people at Carbine getting recognized in their field because they've done a fantastic job. I don't know. I feel that a lot of people maybe are too quick to judge before they know all the facts. And, of course, with Stephan Frost leaving, it was like, oh, my gosh, the game's going to die because apparently Stephan
yeah.
Frost is like the guy that, you know, turns the wheel on the servers and breathes life into my freaking characters. Like, honestly, guys, calm down. It's going to be okay.
Well,
And
I think
go
that
ahead. Yes.
that happens because one of the best things about Carbine becomes kind of one of the worst things in that situation because they've been so open and so, you know, available and honest with people that people kind of feel like they have a personal connection with them. And we've never really seen that before. So then when you see, you know, those people leaving, which is like very common in, you know, MMOs, there's a lot of churn, but when they see them leaving, they have that personal connection. They're like, oh gosh, they have no faith in the game anymore, and they think, oh, that's bad, maybe I shouldn't either, you know. So I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Doc, I want to get your reactions next.
Okay, well, people leaving and people coming and going don't bother me. I believe that because in MMOs, there's a specific difference between the team that helps launch the game and the team that helps maintain the game. There are some people that make their careers based off launching IPs and launching stuff and then moving to the next project. They're innovators. So seeing people like Frost leave this early, or Gaffney leave, or Shelton leave, I wish them the best of luck, because you guys are right. You have to do right by yourself before you do anything else.
Yes.
And I'm more curious about who's stepping up in their shoulders. I mean, Meerkat was also up to lead class designer that same day that Shelton left.
Right.
So I think Meerkat has a good shot at helping continue the class legacy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I'm really curious to see who's taking over Gaffney and Frost. But the state of the game and the Nexus reports to me felt a little more like we have to rip off this Band-Aid. We realize that there's enough of a player base that are really not happy with our direction at the moment. And what we're going to say next is not going to make them any happier. But if we have to do this now and tell you what we're doing and have faith in us as developers and as people who've created this game, that this is the best course of action that we have for our game. I like to think a little more realistically.
Okay. All right. And, you know, I think that's a really good point. And I feel that the whole design that they did with the Nexus report is really good, because you don't see a lot of
initial on, and then we move on.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, Doc, you lagged.
Skype.
Yeah. That phone Skype, bro. You lagged a lot, so we were able to hear the last of your sentence. But I would completely agree with that, and I think that the Nexus report is kind of a testament to what Carbine has established. And Jazzy, you know, your other point of the whole personal relationship. Feeling when someone leaves is definitely a two-edged sword when you're being open and honest with the community like that. So it's so hard to judge whether people are going crazy just to go crazy, or it's a legitimate reaction, especially when like all this huge kind of bombshell drops. And personally, I'd like to see Mike Donatelli take over Gaffney's position, because I just think he'd fit it perfectly, because they're really kind of the same mindset. And Mike, you know, spoils things he's not supposed to all the time. And if he's the CEO, he can't get in trouble for it. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Right?
well, Gaffney was pretty good with that, too. So I think that part is just sort of natural.
It is, yeah.
What Donatelli really needs to do is to have Non as his right-hand man with a Nerf gun clocked at his shoulder, just for here on out.
That's true.
I don't know if Donatelli could handle drinking that much Diet Coke, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's a lot of Diet Coke.
That is true.
Oh, man.
I
Okay.
love his Diet Coke.
Spee, well, what were your reactions and initial thoughts about the live stream and Frost leaving?
Well, first off, I definitely agree with Doc. You know, the turnover I don't feel like it's that big of a deal. I did feel, you know, a little attachment to Frost. It hurt. And I feel like a lot of people felt like that, but, you know, that's life. Mm-hmm. The drop 3, I feel like, will be more of like almost like a re-release, setting things right, where they're basically fixing a lot of the issues that we've all been seeing and we've all wanted fixed. And I'm hoping that's going to bring people back.
Right.
And the AMD optimization is what I've heard, the kind of optimization and that kind of stuff. That's really going to help with a lot of people that I know personally. That's one reason we didn't have a lot of players.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's also another good point. Is the optimization just? It reminds me I need to update my AMD video card because they just actually came out with drivers. So I mean, I recently switched to an i7, which gives me a ton more FPS and whatnot. But I definitely there are a lot of optimization problems in the game right now. Which I mean, that's very standard for an MMO for the first year or even the first year and a half. I know that Star Wars: Old Republic still has some optimization problems every once in a while. But I mean, it's normal, and AMD really isn't the gamer's choice when it comes to computers. So I mean, as someone that exclusively bought AMD products for years, I can tell you that switching to Intel and Nvidia is definitely the way to go if you want to play a video game that's an MMO, because they're just designed for that. AMD is more designed for like studio kind of like rendering type of stuff because it uses technology science. I don't know, but it's I think the
You're
optimization.
digressing the show here. Get
What?
back on track.
Okay, thank
You're
you.
digressing the show. Get back on track.
All right. Okay, so I want to yeah, I want to talk a
Not an
little.
AMD commercial.
Well, hey, I want to talk about the no holiday and the Halloween stuff not going to be happening. So sad about that. I mean, oh my gosh, it was just a complete gut blow to the gut. What were your guys' initial kind of reactions to that? And do you guys feel that this is a wrong decision? Spee, I'm going to start with you.
I completely understand. I was hurt, but then I definitely went read the forums and that kind of stuff, and I saw I can't remember who made the post, but they explained how hard it is to implement all the changes that need to happen to the capital cities and everything. I'm hoping we at least get costumes because that'll let players create housing and use those graveyards we've been saving up for Halloween, and to create their own little trick or treat and everything. I mean, I know I've been saving up all my graveyards and crypts and everything just for this event. And so I definitely wanted to see Halloween. I wanted to see Christmas more. I really, really did.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. All right. Doc, go ahead.
Oh man, when I heard, the only thing I wanted to know was, will the drop changes affect holidays? And they did. And I talked to the guys from Strange Tales while it's happening. And Indigo and I are huge Halloween fans.
Mm-hmm.
So we just went, no, God, why?
Yeah.
I don't agree with the decision to stop and pull them out for this year. I totally get Founders Day and Starfall. That makes sense. We're too close to launch.
Right.
Let's focus on launch, and then we'll give it next year. Shades Eve and Winterfest. Winterfest wasn't even that well developed. That surprises me because they have a dedicated Halloween holiday team, and Shades Eve, what they were saying was so close to being done,
Mm-hmm.
but they felt would have been too buggy. I'm just so confused by that decision to pull them. I gotta suck it up. I might just make a bunch of meta packs and start mailing them as like trick or treat stuff on Halloween.
Nice. Well, I mean, go ahead, Nick.
Well, so I mean, what I wonder is if they had it, or if they felt that it would be ready for what their drop process used to be. But I wonder if they've now implemented a new process where everything is forced to go through this QA for a couple months, and they don't have time for that process before the holidays. Even for the Christmas stuff, they don't feel it'll be ready in time to QA it for 2 months before they need to push it live to the servers. So I wonder if it's sort of a retooling of how they're working internally that has pushed these out.
Yeah, I mean, I respect them for saying, you know what, they're not ready. And it's really sad. It really is, and I was looking forward to it. But honestly, I think that it's the smart decision to do because they're focusing on the things that need to be focused on, and rather than just being, okay, well, here's some pumpkins and some cool stuff that might bug the game out even more and piss off the rest of the community. So I really think it's a smart decision. Nick, anything else you wanted to add to your statement?
Well, I was shocked because they've talked about this Halloween holiday for a long time, way back before launch, before I was in beta. You know, they've had that information on the website for a long time. So I think it's I understand that they don't want to put stuff out there that might be buggy, but I do think it's a poor choice not to try to push this stuff out somehow, because this is stuff that people really love. Whether you're a casual player or a hardcore player or whatever, people love this extra flavor in the game, and especially this kind of game where, with the art style we have and the style of humor and presentation in the game, something goofy like this just fits right in. So I think that, if I were them, I would really try to push for the Christmas holiday stuff and surprise us and say, hey, I know we told you we couldn't do it, but we managed to make it work, because I think people would really respond well to it.
Okay, that's a very fair point. Jazzy, go ahead and add your input on this.
I mean, like most people, I was disappointed, but I mean, if I'm completely honest, I kind of expected that at least the Halloween stuff wouldn't be in this year. Because, I mean, we all know they've been working on, the big drop and the mega servers and all that stuff. And honestly, I would rather they work on that and get it right, the stuff that's permanent and will affect the overall game rather than the temporary holiday. I mean, yeah, they're nice, but we want the game to have longevity. So I figured at least Halloween would be out at least this year, but I didn't expect that the Christmas one would be out. That one actually surprised me. So it's disappointing, but overall, in the end, it will be better for the longevity of the game.
No, yeah, I would definitely agree. Chief, go ahead.
So I think there's a piece here that we got to keep in mind. So we talked about how they acknowledged they made some mistakes. They had to make some changes. And I think this holiday stuff, the way it was designed originally, fit with the systems originally. And the artwork is done. The process is done, but then once they realized they made a mistake, they also had to make changes to systems that have affected these. So the right decision is to make sure they're ready for the new, whatever they changed. I think if they didn't change anything, they could probably give us the holidays no problem. But that's not going to necessarily make anything better if how they do the holiday event, because I'm going to assume there's going to be some kind of event involved,
right,
goes off badly. That's worse than not putting it at all. Hopefully they can still, like you said, put some costumes in there, maybe some new housing pieces, some decor. We can create our own events, even without a full drop, without a full holiday. Like Jazzy said, do it right or don't do it at all is what needs to happen. And I think it's the changing of the systems that caused this to not be ready, not that they didn't have the content already. I see there in chat people are saying, well, this content isn't actually ready. They just told us it was. Well, I think it is ready. But anytime you make a change, it's a domino effect. Right. You change X, now Y, Z, Delta, and Alpha all has to be adjusted to fit and make it work also. And that's what we're seeing happening. And that's why we're seeing the change in the drops going from 1 month to 3 months type situation. It's because it's the domino effect. You make a change into something that's a core system, it has a ripple effect. And sadly, the holidays have been impacted, which is what people have been kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, I think I would agree with everyone on this topic. It's extremely sad to not get what we've been looking forward to for quite some time. But in the same time, they are sticking to their guns, and you got to give them props for it. They're not going to be like, well, we're going to release it anyway because we said we would. No, they're saying we have completely changed the way that we push out content. So now we are going to make sure that everything is not buggy and like it was in Drop 2, that it was a disaster. I mean, it was a disaster. And they're able to push out content that's not buggy. And no matter who you are, what you think, you have to give them props for sticking to their guns, for sticking with their statement. And I think that speaks volumes to them as a developer, because they're not going to go back on their word, because a lot of people do that. A lot of people will be like, well, we said we weren't going to release buggy content, but everyone wants it, so here it is anyway. And then that just leads to snowballing effects and just not good. So, I mean, I feel that it's okay. And, Carbine, again, thank you for sticking with your guns on that. Jazzy, I wanted to give you the chance of going over a couple topics or things that you took away from the live stream that kind of stood out to you.
I can't really think of anything in particular that we haven't already talked about, honestly.
Okay.
Sorry.
Awesome. All right. So, Avid, anything that stood out to you in particular?
Well, dates stood out to me. So mega servers are still a couple weeks away, which is disappointing. Although for the most part, like North America, PvE, everybody's moved to Storm Talon pretty much already. So that's not such a big deal. But you do have some people who have logged back into the game, run around, said, "Hey, this server's dead. Game must be dying," and they log off. And they don't know anything about mega servers. They don't look at the launch splash screen. They don't read the forums, so they don't know what's happening. So the sooner they can pump that out, the better. And then the date for Drop 3 being pushed back to late October, early November. Again, I understand that they have a new process and they're trying to push out something really solid, but I'd actually hoped it would be out by now. So I think the more they can do to accelerate their process, the better it will be. And and I think that they have to beef up how much they're sticking in each drop if they if they want this new cadence to work for them.
That's actually a really good point. Avid, do you feel that the amount of content is going to show the community anything, or do you feel that that just needs to be the case because of the lack of content that we've had in the last couple months?
Well, I don't think there's much they can do with the drop that's coming, unfortunately. I think some of the big changes that they really need to make to the game are going to take some time to implement. So we're not going to see them, maybe for 6 months. But the more they can, if they can plan ahead and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here is how we are going to implement a new level of content, or how we're going to deal with accessibility to raiding or sizes of raids, or some of the other complaints that are out there. If once they have a solid plan, if they can come forward and say, okay, this is the plan, but we're not going to be able to implement this for, it's going to be 6 months before you see it live. But then that would let people know the direction that they're going to go. And I think that would be one of the good things they could do. I mean, they're already very, very communicative with the community, which is great.
Right.
But I think they really need to broadcast very well what direction they want to take this game.
Okay.
I actually did think of something.
Yeah, go ahead, Jazzy.
Off of what Avid said. They mentioned something about possibly changing raid sizes, but kind of didn't. Like, they hinted at it.
Yeah, that's right.
As much as people don't want it, I really think they need to rethink 40-man.
Amen.
It's not that the raids themselves aren't good, it's the logistics of 40-man that has always been the problem. So it seems to me, especially if they're having so many problems with the content they have now, that they can't just focus on content that's got 300 people playing it.
I wish that Doc was here, because he actually interviewed Freya from Voodoo, or no, it was Enigma from on his show. So he'd be like the perfect person to talk about this. But of course he DC'd. I hope he didn't get in an accident or something.
Right.
We're still alive.
What? What, Jazzy?
There was an interesting comment on Gazimov's article that got released today relating to this. Actually, there's a huge number of comments on that article, but buried in there, somebody mentioned, the larger content, the 40-person content, should actually be easier. Right now, one of the problems is that you have to have 40 people performing at peak performance for a good, solid chunk of time. And if you tune down the 40-person stuff and instead you had really tightly tuned 10-person, very difficult content where the hardcore people could get together with a really tightly tuned team and have that be the most difficult content, and have stuff where you have to get a larger group of people together, back off on the difficulty there a little bit so that more people can find success with that.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point. Chief, go ahead.
I agree and I disagree. So I hope they stick to their guns and we keep the 40-man. Okay. I do agree that there should be some tiered level additional content to probably meet the middle of the roads. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to see different levels of dungeons, different levels of raid contents, but I think the game was sold on some element of hardcore, and the 40-man is that niche for some people, and it needs to stay, and it needs to stay the way it is to a certain degree. There may be different levels of accessibility, meaning there's not so hard entry level to get the 40 people together, maybe better tools to make that organizational logistics going. I hope that Carbine doesn't go down with the knee-jerk reaction of overcompensating to take some systems out to add new ones in to make it more accessible across the board. That wasn't the game they designed. I would rather have a game that's a solid 100,000 people with 40-man than having 2 million people playing the game and it's all washed out. Does that make any sense?
It does, but okay. So kind of counterpoint to that is we all know that casuals drive MMO subscriptions. We all know that casuals are the ones that pay for the game to be, there. I mean, just look at any game. So, Chief, do you feel that they should still try and put an effort into 40-man content, something that less than 1% is going to actually see? Because that, to me, just doesn't seem like a good business practice, at least currently.
No. What I'm saying is the current 40-man, the current 20-man raid type stuff that they have is good.
Yep.
It shouldn't be changed. You can address the casuals by having scalable dungeons, other content separate from that. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is don't get rid of what you already have established and made work. You want to remove the bugs from it, but you don't want to change it. You want to find something else to add that meets that middle of the road. I would actually like to have some kind of scalable content because the fixed group size has always drove me crazy. If you've only got 3 friends to play something and you want to go do it, you should be able to go do it. If you've got 15 friends, go do it. If you've got 9 friends, oh my gosh, I'm 4 over, I can't do a 5-man dungeon. Well, take 9 people and just have the dang thing scale a little bit. It would be so much easier and you'd keep so many more people involved and engaged with that type of content if you didn't have such an arduous limitation as a fixed, you got to have 5 and that's all you can ever do it with type situation.
But do you feel like with
WildStar has built their reputation on some hardcore, and that hardcore needs to stay. Add something else that meets the casual.
But with that, wouldn't you think that would add more like complication to it rather than
I didn't say it would
simplifying?
be easy.
Yeah.
I'm giving you my perspective on the optimal choice that should happen and should have probably happened from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean they have
That's
that in
all I'm
WoW,
saying.
so we know it works.
You're probably also going to piss a lot of people off if you neuter the 40-mans to the point where the whole drive for some people is now gone. It may be the 1%, but it is an end goal that they've built a reputation on. And you have guilds that are doing the content, and if you take it away, it's just going to be like they did in that other MMO.
You can say it's okay.
Yeah, where they made the dungeon so stupid, it was like, well, why am I even trying to get here anymore? It's one of the reasons why I left the game. It's like, wait a minute. Those people worked really hard, and they beat it on the hard levels. And you keep making it easier and easier and easier to get more people to do it. It's like, what? So,
right.
Anyway.
Well, but that's some place where I think Blizzard, has refined their strategy over the years. And yes, there's a lot of places where the game is, really super too easy. But one thing you have to respect is that they do let people now see this content. So you have LFR, you have the new scaling raid level, which is brilliant. I mean, I think the scaling raid is really the future in MMOs. Anybody that's doing raids should be looking at that. And then you have the fixed group size, ultra hardcore level as well. The one thing that I think that Blizzard doesn't do that I really think they should, and I know it would require more resources, but if they had distinct armor looks for the different levels, I think that would be really cool. Right now, it's the same armor look, it's just a recolor, and I think that's stupid. I really think that if you had a distinct look, especially for that top tier, then people would have something to stop and stare at when they're in cities.
Huh. Okay. Now, I actually wanted to talk about this with Doc, because Doc, you recently interviewed Freya from Enigma,
Yeah.
and what was your takeaway? And for those of you who haven't listened to it, Strange Tales from Outer Space, episode 13, I think, right?
Episode 13,
Episode
Murphy's Law
13.
of Podcasting.
Murphy's Law, yeah. Go check it out. Some fantastic questions and interviews done by your guys. I think that you probably have the best, I guess, viewpoint on this, since you've actually been able to talk to someone that actually does 40-mans. So, Doc, what is your overall opinion on the whole 40-mans, and should they continue to do them?
As a player, I've done 40-mans in WoW, and I've done even bigger ones in older MMOs like EverQuest. And it's super fun to have that epic army going against the dragon or this strange stuff. But logistically, it's a nightmare. And you have to also realize that, yes, players will devote the time for it if they can, but real life doesn't give a crap about your raiding schedule. And 40-man is great on paper. Yeah, it doesn't. I know as I've gotten older, it's only gotten more and more true. So when I heard 40-man's a WildStar, I'm like, yes, let's do this. I'm in.
And then you're like, oh.
As I played the game, I'm like, yes, I want to do this so badly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening to my degree. Partially skill, but it's beyond the point. Talking to Freya, he seemed very adamant that 40-man is decent, but there's a reason why it's died out. There's the average age of gamers, especially MMO players, have gotten older, and responsibilities have become more varied and more consuming. And I don't think there's a right and wrong to that answer. I don't think that getting rid of 40-man is the ultimate answer, or never getting rid of is the ultimate answer. It has to depend on the game and the player base. And when that's made loud enough, the game creators will respond to that. Interestingly enough, hearing Donatelli say we've talked about the idea of moving 40-mans was very interesting in and of itself, and a little bit telling. I don't know how it'll expand, but from what I gathered from Freya and from Enigma, it doesn't matter whether it's 40 or 20. They're still going to go at it. That's their mentality as raiders. Whatever the challenge is, they're going to meet it head on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you bring up the mentality, because I think that's a huge deal when it comes to raiding. Because if you don't have the mentality, and if you don't have the commitment to actually put time and effort into it, especially 40-mans, like, dear Lord, 40-mans are a pain in the ass. I mean, I think a lot of us did 40-mans in World of Warcraft and EverQuest raids and that kind of stuff. So we're used to massive groups of people screaming at each other because they stood in the fire or the Baron bomb went off and killed half the raid. So
well, here's the thing. It's fun if you're not the one running it. If you're not the one who has to organize it.
Totally.
It's completely
fun. If you're not the one
fun.
leading the heels,
It's great. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
but if you have to organize it, no. It sucks. It's horrible.
Yeah. Spee, I know that you said that you are completely against flex rating, and I actually want to get your opinion on this. So go ahead, man.
Well, I'm trying to think now about notes. Pretty much, I am for the 10-mans because that allows people to develop and go into 20 and 40-mans. I mean, it's typical progression. That's kind of how it goes. Mm-hmm. I don't like flex because I guess I've never had a problem of not finding people and not being able to recruit. So if you go into a game and you go into a raid, and let's say you want to do a small tight-knit group, then you have to tell, oh, so-and-so you can't come, so-and-so you can't come because they're not good enough to be in that group. And you have to be that person. Whereas when you have 10 people, you can kind of, cut the line here, and more people, I guess, are understanding, and then you can start working on a second group. As far as that goes. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I'm against it. I've done the raid leading and guild leading, all that stuff, and I had to use that to be able to cut people off because I had people who were good, but who weren't, extreme hard mode good, and they just couldn't cope. They just couldn't keep up with all the things they have to do. And WildStar, you have to keep up with so much more. As far as that goes, I mean, and I really like the 10-man idea. I'm really hoping they bring that in. Because going from 5-man to 20-man is just too much for people. It's too much. I've only been with 2 different raid groups, and I've found that raid leaders in WildStar are still in a learning phase. They're still trying to figure out how to handle that many people and not to micromanage. And it's really, really hard. I'm finding that I'm not raid leading right now, but I'm helping the raid leader to micromanage every little thing, because they just can't do it. It's just too much for one person, even two, 3 people to handle. It's just
You
too
need a
much.
legit team for it. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually a really good point, Svi, because it's something that is even in World of Warcraft 40 man. Like I did that. I led raids, blah blah blah. That was easier because you could definitely tell who messed up. Like you could definitely tell, okay, who did this, who didn't CC and Nubarak at the blah blah blah. But in WildStar, it was extremely. It's a lot harder to kind of figure out who messed up because of the way the telegraph system works. And I know that in a couple instances, we've wiped on a couple bosses that were just stupid and like just shouldn't actually be there. Like X89 is one of those fights that it's a literally stupid check. Don't stand in the fire. And you can tell the people that don't pay attention or really have no business rating that'll create a toilet and just flush everyone down and just be like, oh, who did that? And everyone's like, dead quiet because no one wants to take responsibility for it. And it's really hard to figure out what that is because you have to, like you said, micromanage everything and figure out, okay, what's this? What's this? Here's the timers for there. Here's this timer. This telegraph's going off. Okay, they have to go this way. They have to go this way. So I think that you bring up a very, very good point. And micromanaging in this game is way harder in a 40-man setting than it is in World of Warcraft. And that I think a lot of people might disagree with that, but it's dead on. And
there's another
caveat
caveat to it too. With 40-man rating, or at least between WildStar and World of Warcraft, I don't know, people always say the other game. It's not fucking Voldemort. Sorry, it's not the game that should not be named. It's just another game. But with WoW and their raid mechanics, they do a lot of, for lack of a better word, gimmicks. And WildStar is very mechanically done. You don't see a lot of gimmicks where you're having to balance levels and whatnot. It's simply get out of the fire, and make sure your interrupts are up on time and communicate with your team. You have to execute very well in this game. That's the biggest difference. I've also noticed from playing raids, at least in World of Warcraft, and having the size go from 20, 25, 10s and 5s and 40s, you have a degree of leniency in the bigger raid sizes. It sounds really odd to say because you would think, 40 man, you have more people that have to take care of themselves. But I've noticed that there are a few people that can be carried through it, or people that can really shine out in it. And at the same time, I noticed that as they've as they've reduced the sizes of raids, new and unique mechanics are getting a little harder for them to develop because they can't just assume that every 5-man or 10-man raid's gonna have the ability to deal with this mechanic. And it's a drawback to reducing the size. So I don't know.
That's what I was saying. Like, even if they remove 40-man, it's not possible to still have challenge in, a 10 or a 20-man raid. And like you're saying, in most games that raid, even on a larger scale, that's how it works. The larger the raid, typically the more forgiving it is. It's kind of opposite in WildStar.
10-mans are like extremely unforgiving. I mean, if one person messes up, like if your top DPS dies, well, might as well wipe it because you're pretty
boned.
Screwed. Yeah, you're screwed. Yeah. So I mean. I know, Chief, that you kind of want 40-mans to stay. Have you been able to experience 40-mans? Because I personally have not. So I'm wondering if you have some maybe more insider knowledge than the rest of us do. Because none of us have actually done 40-mans because we're casual. So
I have done 40-mans in WildStar, not on live though.
Okay.
I will predecess that. I think a lot of what everyone is saying here about the 40-mans is true. I think it's not so much the logistics of raids that is the problem. I think it's the mentality behind how to organize raids nowadays that is more the problem. Because back in the day, we used to have raids in Dark Age of Camelot that would be 100 people.
Yep.
Logistically, it was fine because you told people when to show up. They were there. You did the raids. And you divided up loot because the expectation was people came prepared, were ready to go, and you set a time. You set a schedule ahead of time. Logistics was handled ahead of everything, and things just went smoothly. If somebody was late, well, they joined up when they got there, but things just did not wait around. Nowadays, the expectation is you got to log in, you got to sit around for an hour and a half while somebody organizes you before the raid can happen, and that's unrealistic raid management, and that's become the philosophy nowadays. And I hate to say it, in the gimme society. Everybody expects to just show up and things happen.
Yeah.
It's down to your personal level of commitment, and that's why some of these 40-man raids are working so well, because you have a dedicated team that says, I'm committing to do what I need to do to be ready to go, and I show up and we do it. The problem is the casual society nowadays aren't ready for that. So when they say, oh, it's too difficult to logistically set up for a raid, they blame that on the raid leader, not their personal stake into the raid. And so I agree that there's difficulties in today's society, but I also agree that, or I want to say, it's not always just about logistics or the size of the raid. The raid
You
can
gotta
be
be
a
ready to play.
3-man raid, and you're still going to have logistic issues to some people. So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that those are some very valid points. So okay, so let's move off the 40-man kind of Mike Donatelli secret hint there, because I hate when he does that. He's just like, hey guys, look what we might be doing. Oh, we're gonna end the show with that. Bye. It's just like, no, wait, damn it. Okay, all right. So Doc, I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about some of the things that stood out to you in the live stream, other than what was actually already talked about, like questions or anything that you were able to actually pick out that might have, like, I guess, tickled your curiosity.
I think the body language was really interesting to me, and just like I said earlier, it seemed like a scab needed to be pulled off, and they didn't. They were really hesitant to do it, and they realized they needed to, and that's where some people were like, "Oh, it's bad news! The sky is falling." That all stood out to me, and watching. And this is actually over a long term, and someone pointed out on, I think, the subreddit or Twitch chat that I also picked up on as well, is watching Frost's mannerisms in the last 4, 5, 6 Nexus reports was very intriguing to watch as well, and that's why I like live streams, because you can hear what they're saying, but also looking at their reactions is very interesting and telling too, and you can tell that regardless of whether you agree with his management and production of the game or not, he genuinely put as much as he could into the game, Frost, and he almost broke down his manly man exterior, and he really kind of didn't want to go, but it also comes back to the point of, you got to do what you have to do for yourself. He wasn't jumping ship. He realized that he couldn't get what he needed here with Carbine, and he could somewhere else. Yeah,
that's a very good point, because unfortunately, I leave work at 3 o'clock, so I have to tune out like 10 minutes before the live stream ends. And of course, he announced himself leaving Carbine just as I exited the stream to go home to work. And I came back and I was like, wait, what? How did I miss this? So I definitely will pay attention to his body language when I watch the VOD, because that's actually something that I didn't really consider before. Jazzy, is that something that you really kind of consider when you watch these?
I mean, you could tell in this one that something was up. I mean, he just didn't seem as
perky,
chipper.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell. I didn't know if maybe he was just having a bad day. I kind of did notice that right off the bat. So, didn't expect that though. Yeah. That's something.
Yeah. So, I want to actually kind of talk about that, and as overly depressing as this topic might be, it definitely needs to be addressed in a positive manner. And I think we're, honestly, we really kind of have the figureheads here in terms of the community and making sure that we are still being positive voice and influence on the community. And I don't say that to be prideful. I say that as a very humble manner, because it's something that we are kind of entrusted to, because no one else is going to do it. So I think that I'd like to use this time just to kind of give Frost a proper send-off, and of course kind of talk about our reactions and whatnot as well. So, Chief, I'd like to start with you.
What was the question? So, my reactions to Frost leaving, I'm not bothered by it really at all, because as I said earlier, people got to do they got to do good for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And whether he thought he was at the end of his road at Carbine or not is irregardless to the situation. When there's good people out there doing great things, people want them. And, you get enough offers, one of them's going to look advertising and you're going to take it.
Yep.
I feel that that's what happened in this situation. I don't think he was intentionally looking to leave, because he is invested in this game heavily and will still be invested even after he leaves. I think, as he said, an offer came along that was just too good to pass up. Anybody is going to do that. I don't care who you are. You know, somebody offers you double your salary, and I'm not saying it's about money, but most people are going to jump ship. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
And even if it's less money, if it's what you want to be working on, you're going to go do it.
Yep.
That's just the nature of the business. I don't think it's going to affect Carbine in the slightest. It is kind of sad to lose our quote-unquote, how do you say it, our public figure.
Yeah.
Because he is kind of the voice of Carbine. He's in all the videos, you know, though we're not seeing too many more videos and probably won't in the near future. People associate his voice and his face with a lot of the public side of Carbine. So he's going to be greatly missed. But I don't think it's going to hurt shape or form or the game development or anything like that. And I'm happy that something came along that got him excited, and he's going to do it.
Yeah, I would completely agree. Avidguru, go ahead.
Well, I'll be interested to see if he's moving on to another video game company, which is sort of what I expect, or if he's doing something with some of his other creative efforts. I don't know if you guys have seen Mortifera. Awesome.
Have I seen Mortifera?
Oh, awesome!
No.
Awesome graphic novel. So we'll see where he ends up next. I mean, I've liked all the contact I've had
never
with
seen
Frost.
Mortifera.
He's a good guy. Oh, there you go. There you go. So, you know, I'm very curious to see where he ends up. But yeah, I think it is just a matter of, you know, he's been working at Carbine for many a year, and they got the game launched, and he went through a lot for that, and now maybe he sees something else on the horizon that he wants to go after. You know, maybe it's a better position, maybe it's just an interesting opportunity for him. You know, who knows? But yeah, I mean, this sort of churn happens in this industry all the time, and especially as a studio transitions from creating a game to maintaining a game and creating new content. It's a very different mode for a studio, and this is a very typical time for us to see turnover. It's happened in a lot of other studios, so you know, and it is sad. I'll miss seeing him every week on the live stream, but you know, I look forward to where he ended up. You know, a lot of us have followed Troy Hewitt, former community manager from Carbine.
Yep.
And you know, there's just certain people in the industry you meet, and you realize that they are good people, and no matter where they go, you're going to follow them and check out what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. I mean, because I followed Tony Ray through Firefall, and now he's in WildStar. I mean, so I mean, it's really cool to see certain people in the industry just get that really well-known credit that they deserve for all the hard work they do. Svi, I'm going to give you a chance to chime in here.
I mean, pretty much all I have to say is that it's going to allow somebody to step up. Either they're going to, you know, find somebody in-house or out-of-house, whatever. It's going to pretty much bring a fresh look on, you know, from that angle, is what I'm hoping for, at least. I mean, we pretty much, everybody covered kind of how we all felt, I think.
Okay. All right. Let's go with Doc.
Oh, man. I'm trying to think about this, and this is a negative. I don't think it is. It's interesting that their mentality is shifting from A to B, and you can see that if you're looking at what their changes are. And Frost was kind of a face for the A style of the game they're looking for. He kind of was like, he represented and was the manifestation of it, and him moving on kind of feels like a changing of the guard. Whether or not that's actually the case, we'll see in due time. And I know, just like Chief said, you know, he has to do it for himself, and he's right. It's not a politics thing. It's just, it's his life. He's got to do it for him.
Yeah.
And like I said, him leaving is not the issue for me. Is I want to see who steps up to the plate, who thinks that they can help bring this ship right, and keep it going. That's what I really want to know. Because when they're gone, they're gone. That's it. Oh well, that's their chapter. It's done. that doesn't mean it's over. It means that we have someone new coming in, and that's what I'm very curious about, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Jazzy, go ahead.
So I'm kind of going to go the opposite of where I usually go with these things, and I am going to be a little negative. Sorry.
Oh.
I know I'm usually the one who's spinning things positively, but unlike a lot of people, I do feel like this will affect the game. I mean, I do, because of all the things that everyone has said, you know, that he is the face of the game. You know, everyone feels like they have that personal relationship with them. And I mean, you can watch, well, I mean, I guess you can't see in the VOD, but for those of us that were watching the live stream, when he announced that, the chat blew up. And there were so many people that were like, oh man, I don't know if I want to keep going. It looks like, you know, all these people are jumping ship. I don't know. And then you can go look on Reddit, which Reddit isn't always the best source.
Don't look on Reddit right now. I made that mistake too. It was just not a good idea.
But
you need a thick skin for Reddit sometimes.
Yeah, you do. But I mean, it's there. And I think that, like it or not, whether it's a huge impact, it will affect the game. Honestly, I really think it will.
Okay, now I want to ask how, though. I mean, besides the whole personal connection, I mean, it to me, it didn't seem that Frost was someone that made things happen. He was more of just kind of the background guy that had a position, and he was just really, really well known in the community. Now, granted, I don't know what his official going on in the business in the company actually was.
He was the live producer.
Right.
Yeah, he's essentially a project manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, his job is to check in with all the teams, make sure everybody's doing the stuff when they need to be doing it, and kick a little butt when people aren't moving as fast as they should.
Okay, so in that aspect, I mean, don't think this the wrong way, but anyone can really do that job. Anyone's able and capable of saying, "Hey, do your job or you're fired." Or,
well, I'm not talking about from like
stuff.
a background aspect. I'm talking about as far as the population, the community of the game, like the players. I think that it will affect the community, I guess I should say.
No, the players definitely.
Possibly the population of the game.
Possibly, right. Okay. Doc, go ahead.
Yeah, the players really elevated Frost past project manager status in the community's eyes. He became the figurehead of the hardcore mentality. And I find knee-jerk reactions super funny because people are very quick to these judgments, and to me it doesn't make any sense. Mainly because I like to personally take a step back and go, okay, he's leaving. What now? What's going to happen now? And looking at Reddit blowing up, and you will see that like first few days of people just with their hands in the air going, God! Hopefully cooler heads prevail.
Yeah,
but
they will. They always do. Yeah,
production managers are very important because they have to keep everybody else in line. If they weren't, you get delays and everything like that.
Right.
But I think Frost elevated that, which is why Jazzy does have a point in saying there will be people affected by it. I don't know how much they'll leave or stay for it, though.
Yeah, let me clarify when I said anyone can do that job. That sounds horrible, and that sounds like, whatever, he's leaving. You know,
screw Frost.
Anyone can do your job.
Anyone can do your
podcast
job.
host.
No, exactly. Anyone can do my job. But I mean that in a pure business standpoint. I completely agree that Frost was pretty much the heart of the community. Frost was WildStar and is WildStar in my opinion, and will always be WildStar because he has that goofy metal kind of humor that's I truly believe that's where WildStar got most of their just crazy humor and aesthetics from, was just looking at Frost going, okay, what are you wearing today? Put that into the game. Good. Okay, cool. We have a new zone.
Spikes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, think about this too. Most of us were introduced to WildStar through Frost voice.
Damn right.
All of those videos.
I mean, the dev speaks, man. It's
yeah.
So I want to just kind of clarify that I'm not saying that Frost's position is any less important. I'm saying that from a business standpoint, it's not the end of the world. But Jazzy, you definitely make an extremely good and well thought out point that it is going to affect morale a lot, because first we have Hugh Shelton, and then we have Stephan Frost leaving.
Yeah.
And
I should add to that too, like I was saying, it's not just him leaving, but you seeing, Gaffney, then Hugh Shelton, then Frost. It's kind of, the whole effect of all of them will be a thing.
Go ahead, Chief.
Well, go back a little bit farther. I mean, the same kind of reactions happened when Troy Hewitt left, because at the time, he was the voice.
Yes, he was.
Stephan Frost was the voice of the videos, but Troy was kind of the voice, the public face everybody was relating to out there at first.
Yeah.
Then he had to leave. The ripples happened,
Mhm.
things adjusted, and then everybody jumped on board with Scooter. And Stephan started coming into the picture, and then there's a few other public people that got on board with the Twitter, and people started getting on the bandwagons. So this is not a new thing. This has happened with WildStar being so prevalent into the community, whether it's a face, a voice,
Right.
Twitter presence, Reddit presence, heck, even some of the radio channels where people would get in there and they'd be in a room chatting and listening to music. I mean, WildStar devs have been prevalent throughout, and every time one of them has to make a change, everybody freaks out, calms down, latches onto somebody else. While I think Stephan is going to be a little bit more of a harder ripple to get over,
Right.
I think there's going to be somebody else that's going to step up. I mean, we got Tony Ray that's just all over in everybody's face.
Tony's awesome.
And he's great. At first, I was completely turned off to him because I really liked Troy and David, you know. But then he came in, and I'm like, who's this new guy? But he kind of wears on you, and now everybody loves him, you know. And
Change is bad.
It's like Doctor Who.
So I
Oh my
think
gosh,
the same
yeah.
thing's going to happen with Stephan Frost. The ripples are there. Everybody's freaking out. Things will level out. And it's irregardless of what his actual job is. Because we got to remember that the devs we deal with, we're dealing with them on a level of interaction that has usually very little to do with what they actually do for the company.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, they're talking about their part of the job, but I mean, there's a bigger picture here in their community because we're not hearing from people that are big at the company. I mean, my pet peeve is we very seldom hear anything about crafting. But yet it's a huge piece
Just
of
had to
game.
throw that in there, didn't you, Chief?
Yes.
Somebody call on, Red.
Noah's out there and he's doing lots of stuff, but there's certain people that just aren't prevalent in the community, and I think we got to keep that in perspective. We have people that are very heavy in the community regardless of their job, and then we have people that are very quiet, but they're still there. You know, it's just a balance, right? Not everybody.
I'll agree.
Well,
You got Tony
those
to comment
faces-
on that.
well, those faces of Carbine are kind of like us in the community sense. We're a little narcissistic to be on a Twitch chat right now claiming we're all fairly important in this game. Same with them going, we're fairly important to be seen on front of a screen.
Yeah. Well, you know what? In regards to that, though, I mean,
I don't know about you, but I am. So
I'm kind of a big deal on the internet. Let me just.
that's right.
Just showing my credentials here.
Yeah, I'm the original redacted. If anybody's narcissistic about WildStar, it should be me.
That's true. That's true.
You do fill out that shirt quite nicely.
I do.
Chief is a big deal too.
Oh, that's
Me and
funny.
him, we deserve to be here.
At this time, I'd like to actually give a quick shout out to all the developers listening to the live stream. I do appreciate you guys taking your time out of your non-work day to actually be a part of
Hey,
this.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony, Time.
He snuck in.
He
You know,
came
Came
they
in
rubbed
just
it
in
my
time
nose.
to hear you talk crap about him.
Yeah, I know,
He's the
right?
reason why I have a webcam today. When he came on Strange Tales, the first thing he did was, "Hey guys," big old smiling face, and he went, "Why is there nobody here? I don't understand."
That's funny. Oh, that's funny. So, I guess before we end the stream, because I don't want to keep everyone too long. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk
all
about?
night. It's okay.
Okay, so everyone's fine to keep going and everything. We're not.
Oh, I can
Yeah,
go forever.
I can go
I'm a West
forever.
Coaster.
4 hours. Let's
It's
go.
only 6 p.m. over here.
Oh,
I can
that's
go
right.
all night.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
I'm
So,
saying 6 p.m. for me too. I'm just hungry. That's okay.
food is for the weak. Anyway. Okay. So I guess the next topic I want to go over is mega servers. And I know that a lot of people view mega servers and server merges as, oh my gosh, the world is ending. The game's dying. Everything's going to hell. No, that's not the case. Everyone needs to calm the freak down. And Svi, I actually want to kind of get your impressions on mega servers and what you think that they are going to do to the community and how they're going to affect the game in a positive manner.
I'm kind of not sure. I think they're going to help because somebody actually made a post the other day, and I didn't realize this, but people are still making characters and trying to play on those dead servers, pretty much.
Yes, they are.
And that scares me. Like, I feel bad for these people, and so that's what it's going to help. I'm not sure how I feel that it's going to be the saving grace that a lot of people are claiming. It's going to bring a lot more people, but I really think that the patches and the drop is going to help more than mega servers. One reason I think mega servers really going to help is because it's kind of crossing off the to-do list.
Right.
So they'll be able to get that out the way, get QA onto something else, and to more content and more things that we want to see in the game, and really help develop farther along the path.
Okay. Very, very good. Well said, actually. Jazzy, we'll go with you.
I think that, yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think it'll be a huge thing. I think it will help significantly to, bring everybody together. Another thing, though, that was interesting on the live stream that Donatelli said was that they actually planned to do it from the beginning. He had kind of mentioned that off the cuff, and that's kind of a weird thing to hear now. I mean, I feel like we had Cougar say that they did it in response to population issues.
Well, I think that we have kind of WildStar making a new kind of foundation and mold for MMOs. And I tried to say this about Guild Wars 2, and it didn't work. And I think that Carbine watching Guild Wars 2 and Star Wars kind of be the last kind of niche MMOs, I want to say, like tab targeting and that kind of stuff. And then WildStar having freeform combat, you're able to get a CC. The game is hard as crap. A level 1 mob can kill you if you're stupid. It's all these things kind of churning together and then going, okay, what else can we do to better our game? And I think mega servers honestly are the right choice, because then you don't have to go, well, my server's dead, this game sucks. So mega servers are not a bad thing, although from an old school kind of MMO vet here speaking, back in my day, I think that the whole, you make a name for yourself on servers, and that's something that I'm definitely going to miss, but it's needed because, hey, you know what? Technology is advancing. Get on the train or walk home. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Avidguru, go ahead, sir.
I think mega servers are really good. I mean, they're for the population that's in the know, they're de facto here because everybody's just transferred over to agreed upon servers at this point. But new people coming in, people returning, they may not be aware of this, and so they just go in and they think the game is dead. So, like I said earlier, the sooner they can get it in, the better. I do wonder if it's something that they were working on ahead of time, and potentially, their publisher NCSoft pushed them on the date they had to get the game out the door, and one of the casualties was the mega server technology. So my feeling is that it's something they'd been working on previously, sort of had in their back pocket, and they needed to finish the work on it before they could actually implement it live.
Yeah, I mean that's very true as well. I think, yeah, you know what? Let's just play NCSoft and just screw everything else. Come on, might as well. Might as well,
hey,
right?
American way. Pass the buck.
Yeah, pass the buck. Yeah, it's NCSoft, so whatever. Doc, go ahead with your thoughts.
I know I said it on Strange Tales. The Mega server was planned from the beginning. Just technology reasons. This is not a knee-jerk reaction. The technology made to have the mega servers was planned in some way, shape, or form. I'm gonna have the old codger. Back in my day, we had servers, and they had their own cultures and economies, and you could be the one to rule it all. But we don't live in that age anymore. We're a fractured gaming community.
Yeah. And
a mega server is a great step. And this is not me being paid, although I'll take that money off to the side, Tony. Thank you very much. Mega servers will definitely help the grand majority of players. Niche players will have an initial rough time. Niche, I mean, small factions of other language speakers and our peers, and those are the ones that are hit the most with this.
The our peers.
The our peers, I really do feel for, because it's hard to not feel for them, but at the same time, smart ones and diligent ones will still stick around, and they'll find their covens and their guild halls. And, hopefully, and my hope is to stumble upon a few RPers somewhere in this game once Mega Servers hit.
Yeah, I don't think our peers really are as creepy and weird as people make them out to be. I mean, I did RP in Guild Wars 1, and it was a lot of fun getting into your character and saying, this is kind of my little world, and, you had your own little drama and stuff that happened in game and all this other fun stuff. So, I mean, RPing and our peers really are not a bad group of people, and I think we as a community need to embrace them and say, welcome to the server, welcome to this mega server. Just leave them alone, guys. Don't be assholes. There's no reason to. I mean, if someone comes up and says, "Hey, you want to have kinky RN sex?" Then yeah, that person's weird. It's just like
we don't need Moonguard here.
Yeah, we don't need Moonguard. Please, no. Oh gosh, so many nightmares.
But as a side thought to the whole RP thing, and we actually talked about this extensively on one of our episodes. There was a thread right after they announced the mega servers, and they kind of said, no RPs, of like suggestions of what they could do. And one that I really liked that I thought would be possible is they said something about kind of like an RP flagging that would like instance you or phase you into another phase with people that were RPing, so that people couldn't just come across you while you're RPing and be assholes and mess with you, basically. I mean, obviously nothing would stop them from flagging still, but that would take more effort. So I thought that was a cool suggestion and the most viable one.
Add-ons are another great idea for our peers as well, and we had one of them on our show, and he said, they're taking advantage of the fact that the Lua and everything else is so malleable in WildStar that you can find each other, and using the websites in combination with add-ons, you aren't as left out and outcasted when mega servers hit. So add-on developers, start talking to our peers and see what you can do to help them. And if you are our peer who is an on developer, see what you can do. You can carve out a whole niche for yourself in mega servers and not lose your culture.
Right. Yeah, there's actually already a couple that people use. So
yeah. Chief,
they're definitely out
your
there.
Thoughts on mega servers?
So, first I'll start with the RPers. So, RPing on a server, it's irregardless of where your server is. It's the tools that are there to make RPing beneficial. WildStar has a ton of RP-supported tools, both in add-ons and the fact that they've got circles, they got guilds, they got so many different communication tools, so many emotes, costume systems. Everything is already there for the RPer. The RPer just has to do it. There's nothing impeding an RPer. The only thing an RP server does is give a place to where it's more common to find other RPers. Mega servers are not going to change that. They still all have all those tools. They still have all those communications abilities, the housing systems and everything to support it. They don't need to change a thing to make RPers happy. The RPers need to make themselves happy by getting organized.
Yeah.
Mega servers,
very good point.
I think, is a good step, but it's not going to be enough by itself to fix everything. But they've acknowledged that. The mega servers, I think, were planning on coming online. They were just going to do it a little bit later. Individuality by servers is an okay thing, but all individual servers do is segregate a community farther than normally would be done, because you may have friends all over the world and not know where they're all playing, and once you start to find out, you realize, well, everybody you want to play with is all divided. Mega servers fix that. And the tools are already there for the people that speak different languages to set up their own channels, their own systems, their own forms of communications, their own networks, but we're all together. It's just like the real world, know? My next door neighbor speaks a different language. It doesn't mean we don't also communicate and occupy the same space. Mega servers as a whole, now that the technology supports it, is the best way to go. And unfortunately, WildStar didn't launch with it, but I don't think it's still the crux of the problem. The problem is all the other things that they're also fixing. So if mega servers don't come online timely, with also some of those other fixes, mega servers aren't going to fix it by itself.
True. Did I miss anyone in their opinions on mega servers? I can't remember. I apologize. Avid, did I get to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Chief, you actually bring up a good point, and I want to talk about this as well as what
I
does.
make good points.
Yeah, you do. Shockingly enough, I mean, all you
Logic?
all you talk about is crafting. So you do have those good moments.
I've only said one thing about crafting this whole night.
We could go all out with crafting.
Please, dear God, no.
Good.
Chief, what do you think about Archivos?
No, shush! Stop it! Why? Why most? Okay, so Chief, you actually bring up some good points as to things that need to be fixed in the game itself. So I'd like to now go over what do you guys think is the crux of the problem in WildStar, besides the bug fixes. Just completely take those out of consideration, because they've already said that they've fixed nearly like 6,000 some bugs or something ridiculous, which is, yeah, bug fixes. Thank you, Carbine. I do appreciate that effort. So, Avid, I want to start with you, and what do you think needs to be done in order to fix the game?
I talked about this a little bit on the last Wildcast. To me, the most important thing that they can do is add in a new layer of content, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago. And anyways, to me, there's a hole in the game where for kind of a more casual player, maybe an older player doesn't have as much time to play, where they can level up through all the content, they can do dailies. Nobody wants to do dailies.
Right.
And then maybe
Shut
you
up.
can do adventures, veteran level adventures, but veteran level dungeons may be a step too far as the level of commitment that you can make. And I think there needs to be a frankly easier level of content with some sort of reward over time. They've talked about possibly tokens. I personally think that's a good way to go for this kind of level of content, where somebody can work towards a goal on a more casual basis and have a reason to keep coming back into the game. Because for somebody that looks at their schedule and says, hey, you know what, I'm never going to raid, I just cannot do that kind of time commitment, or whatever other reasons they have, but give them something to still come back to the game for. I really feel that they have some good systems in place in the game, but there's a population out there that they need to take care of that they're not taking care of right now.
Okay. And do you feel... Okay, so my next question to that, Avid, is how can they actually take care of that without affecting the rest of us, if that makes sense?
No, it makes sense, and I'm certainly a firm believer in the best PvE gear should be in the raids,
Right.
And if you're not raiding, you don't really need that same level of gear, and that's kind of a big MMO argument that's been around for a lot of years. But that's where I come down on that side of the issue. But you can have a lesser tier of gear that people can still work to, that looks good and works coherently as a set, and so on. And just, I kept thinking back to, like Wrath of the Lich King days. Why did I log in day after day after day and play every single day, even when I came home and had had a long day at work?
Right.
And it was, things like, the daily dungeon quests, or, things like that, working on getting some more badges to work towards some sort of piece of gear or a mount or whatever. Those sorts of things really, that's what drew me back in. And I don't think they quite have that right now.
Okay. All right. Chief, go ahead.
So mine is along the same lines of what he said. For me, it's having something to work towards. As the obsessive compulsive complete everything person, I like to go out for everything. Mm-hmm. So the point is to have a reason to do it all. I think they're missing the boat on lore. There's really no reason to get the lore except to read the story. If they implemented something to where you could earn costumes or earn decorations for your houses, pets. Ooh, how about some pets? Have things that you can work towards that have really no major effect other than something interesting to do. Go find a lost treasure or a certain mob to kill so you can throw its head up on your wall. something that gives you a reason to do something other than dailies. I hate dailies. The grind for tokens to buy a piece of gear just irritates the heck out of me if there's nothing above and beyond just a piece of gear.
Correct.
You know, you got to have a total package of things to do and emphasize the systems you already have and support them. There are so many things that they could do that would support housing that would make people go crazy to go do if they could tie it together better. You know, it can't duplicate what an architect can make and what you can already purchase on the housing vendor. It's got to be separate. They have a robust costume system. There's just so many ways that they can incorporate things to earn actual costumes or earn dyes or whatever that's not just vendor purchased, you know. They already have rare mobs, but they could take it farther, you know. Is there killing a rare mob so many times earn you a trophy in that mob? You know, little things are making the huge difference that would meet that middle of the road of something to do while waiting to raid, or something to do while waiting to have buy something for your house. You know, they just need to find the niches and get them in there. You know, pets would be huge. The world is just full of new animals.
Right.
Build a farm on your house.
Yeah.
With these animals, maybe even raising animals and making them breed so you can sell them. Now you've got a new economy item. I mean, there's just so much they can do.
Right. And Tony did just say that he's gonna has to log off. So thanks, Tony, for taking the time to be with us. We do appreciate it. And, you know, Chief, you definitely bring up a good point in the whole dailies aspect of things. I think it's very important that dailies do kind of breed some sort of, you actually need to do these other than just, well, that's the only way to make money or whatever for casual players. I know that I had a big problem making money for the longest time, and then I got into a thicket circle or mining circle, and, you know, I'm making maybe 1 to 2 plat a day, literally taking 20 minutes just going around and going, you know, and it's very easy. But in retrospect, that's boring, and that's really all I do right now, because, you know, a lot of my guild, I decided not to raid with them just because of the way that they do things, and I don't particularly agree with some of the things that they do, and a lot of other people are actually really bad and just piss me off. So and it's not your fault. And then, you know, I try to get back into PvP, and the class balance really isn't there right now, and that's also aggravating. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just farm and just do that. So there's not a lot of things to keep a person that is in between what they want to try and focus on in the game right now. And you definitely bring up a very, very good point. Jazzy, go ahead.
I mean, mine's kind of along the same lines of what Chief said. There needs to be a couple things. I guess I'll branch out on a little bit. One, there needs to be some more smaller breadcrumb rewards, kind of like what he was saying. Me personally, I'm a big achievement person. I love doing achievements in games. The problem I found in WildStar is that, one, achievements are far too easy and far too many to get. You get achievements for just everything. It's
you
kind of
sneeze, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was a little bit more challenge to achievements. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but in that as well, the only thing you get currently from achievements as a reward is titles. So I'd like to see other things like costume pieces or, you know, pets or mounts or whatever as, you know, rewards for that, because it's something you can do in your off time that's not, you know, necessarily raiding or dungeons or whatever. So that would be a nice thing to have. The other thing I think that they need to work on is the reward to time invested in some things is too far in between. Adventures and dungeons are kind of a good example of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know before, I think before it was too much, and then I think they kind of overreacted and scaled it back too much. I think we need to kind of find a nice middle ground there. Because again, that's something that's going to keep people out of raiding. Right. If they don't have the gear, if they can't get gear from adventures to get into dungeons to, you know, get into raiding, it's just not, it's going to make people frustrated and they're going to leave. And rep grinds are the same thing.
Rep grinds are an awful idea. You should never, ever, ever have them in any MMO
well, I mean,
ever.
they wouldn't be as big a deal if, like I said, if you got more rewards for things like, you know, adventures and dungeons. If you got, you know, gear, you felt like you were getting something. I think that would help the rep grinds not seem so bad, because rep grinds are in every game.
Yeah,
every single one.
It's just
it's just, yeah, you're not getting anything, and for a lot of people, the rewards from rep vendors are best in slot, so that gets frustrating too.
Right.
So I think that it's just the reward to time invested probably needs to be adjusted a little bit, because hardcore doesn't equal grind. So
amen to that, Jazzy. Preach it, sister. You preach it.
I think, and like I said, I mean, you know me, you know, I'm all about, you know, putting in the time, putting in the effort, but I think that they could still scale it back a little bit. So for me, that's what I think would help the game. It's just a little more reward for the time that you're online playing.
Cool.
I like counterpoint reps too. You have a rep that you increase will cause another one to decrease. Those are always
booty bay and everything. Those are great.
Fun. There's a reason.
Yeah,
having an evolution to what you're doing.
Doc, since you spoke next, go ahead.
You're not going to hear much variety, I don't think. I think achievements need to be worked on. I loved going after achievements in WoW because of cosmetic items. I liked going in and trying to complete things. And one thing I thought, and I'm probably in the vast majority in saying that I'm okay with rep grinds, and I'm okay with dailies. I can zen out if it's early morning and I know that the community's not active till like 10 a.m. I can zen out, do my dailies, only get ganked once or twice. And then 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock runs around, I can go get lunch, come back, and stomp some face for everyone who shot me, and then go into everything else. But I think what would be fun, if we're talking about our imagination and our love of no cost associated to this, lore can be put into everything, and I think an evolving lore could help. I would love to see not, I guess, phasing, but not that to that degree of phasing. Seeing like not so much. Yeah, see, I'm taking a word of this. Say Crimson Battlelands. You have the story right now. It's kind of whatever. Eventually, the story would evolve depending on what you've done, what quests you have done in Crimson Battlelands, whether or not all of them, and the quests will actually branch out from there. Say you're dealing more with the spider problem, the quests branch out from there. And then as you can delve deeper into the spider quests, you end up getting more cosmetic items and more of a single player story that delves into that. If you're gonna do more with the dirge, you know, you can follow those quests and get the items from that and get the titles for that and have your own tailored story. You know, it would be interesting too, is if they, and like you said, an evolution of reputation, like having the dirge quest line almost locks you out of the spider quest line unless you do something in between to kind of give you this chance to go, I can go here, explore all of this, and then go back and then explore all of this and watch an evolution happening. And even stuff, just trying to get the lore more active than just blurbs. Like maybe, or giving you really cool incentives to go for stuff like Zax, or say the new Zax, or Mondo, if he's still Zax at one point in the game, he needs samples. Guess what that means? Walatiki. Aha! So having that evolution, okay, you've got the samples, or you didn't get enough samples this time, the quest can diverge.
Right.
And you can redeem yourself in the quest line differently. I don't know. I think that evolution of single player story would be really fun if you cannot or do not wish to participate in raids and PvP, or, you know, you can kind of cater to what you want to do. That's if we know we had the unlimited budget. But stuff like the Omnicore one coming in, really interesting, because it does give you more into the lore instead of just here's a quest box.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I like about games, is getting into the nooks and crannies and like finding myself in places that maybe I'm not supposed to be in. Maybe I am kind of over my head in, story wise. Maybe not mechanically, unless I just suck. So
it's
which
very
you've already
possible.
admitted to.
Yeah.
Oh God, no. Yeah, we already realized I'm horrible at this.
That's okay. Speak. Go ahead, man.
Well, I can actually go off on a different tangent completely. One thing that I would like to see, I have basically three things mainly. The raids and dungeons, I would love to see a normal and a hard mode, because of the like, kind of how World of Warcraft had it. It allowed me to be able to take people that weren't quite that great and teach them the mechanics, teach them certain things about the game that they wouldn't normally know, and they would probably never know if all they had was one version. So like X89 could be, he does less damage, or there's, you know, just different little things just to make it a little bit easier, and then maybe give a reward to people who do it on normal, or even make it a little bit harder. because once you kill X89 the first time, he's kind of a joke after that.
Right. Or supposedly.
And then, say again?
Supposedly he's a joke, but
Yeah, I mean, we wiped all night on him twice one night, and then after that, it's taken us like one or two attempts.
Yep.
The information gap to me is one of the biggest problems I have. A lot of people had it with like silvers and the silver age and whatnot. They just didn't know what to do. You get into a run and, everybody wants silver, but nobody had any clue how to get it. And so they just complained the whole time. And I found ended up having to teach people little tricks that I had learned along the way from people who were farther advanced than I was. And that's kind of been my biggest fight with the game in general, is just learning different strategies and that kind of thing. The only other thing I have is the PvP. Sorry, the PvP thing needs to be fixed. I'm really excited for the PvP to get fixed. They introduced all the roster, the leaderboards and everything, and I think that's going to bring a lot of people into different parts of the game, because one statement that I heard was that WildStar has a lot to do if you enjoy PvE as well as PvP. Mm-hmm. And I completely believe that's true, but a lot of people are not doing PvP because it still needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
As far as the gear issue, and that's kind of hitting home. But as far as that kind of stuff goes, and they're fixing the rating, they're fixing the gear, and it's coming. And I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the PvP side of things, because that's really why I started to really enjoy WildStars, because of the telegraph system. And it is your own fault if you die to a level 30-something and you're level 50. I mean, I have a video on my YouTube channel.
That poor guy.
I have a video on my YouTube channel that me and two other friends who were like level 25 to 30 took out a level 50 player. And that doesn't happen in any other MMO ever. Because if someone's max level and we have three 30-level players, well, he's just going to go boom, 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 and they're dead. And this one, we were able to CC him, dodge out of things, heal ourselves up. And, like, that to me was like, that point right there to me was like, this is awesome. I want to... No, it was not you. No.
one of my co-hosts had that happen actually.
So I got jumped by like 35 to 37 players, and they killed me, and I was so mad. You assholes.
I mean, and like you gotta just give props to Carbine for creating an experience in World PvP that actually is able to happen. And stuff like that is it's not heard of, because you're so reliant on gear. Well, in this game, it's the complete opposite, and you're reliant on skill. And I think I will definitely agree with everyone here in terms of what needs to be improved. But for me, it's definitely the PvP, because I am a very competitive person at heart. So beating a giant raid boss is fun and all, but I enjoyed the hell out of WoW Arena and all the other arenas that other MMOs have actually created. So for me, if the PvP gets fixed, I really could care less about anything else. I mean, and that sounds selfish, and it damn well is selfish, but I mean, I would definitely agree that the grind needs to be completely redone. RNG needs to be completely removed, because dear sweet heavens, that pisses me off. I can't tell you how many things of PvP gear I've re-gotten to get the max amount of slots, and then it's just like, well, I don't want 4 water slots. Damn it! I gotta do this all over again and grind out the X amount of stuff to actually do that. And they're fixing that with the items and stuff. But I definitely think the RNG needs to be completely removed. That's my biggest pet peeve, and Jazzy can definitely attest to that. I've complained to her numerous times.
Say, how many messages do I have?
So
about RNG and runes.
With that being said, I'd like to move on to Attunement and rating and everything. I know that Jazzy's like, yes, the topic. And it's the one. And it's something excellent. I like that. It's something that I think that everyone is going to have a different opinion on. I mean, obviously, me and Jazzy have gone back and forth on Twitter numerous times about what we think. So, Jazzy, I'm going to give you the open floor for the first rebuttal in this topic.
Awesome. Okay, this is actually something we just talked about in the episode we released today, as a matter of fact.
Very cool.
So, a few things that I like and one thing I don't. I do like that they lowered the metal in a way. I do like that because, again, it allows more people to access the content and everything. In a way, I kind of don't, because those things, that one specifically, is there to test your skill and your gear. It's for both. So being behind a timer tests that you have the right gear, you know, that you can do it and not die. Good things. The world boss step, I do like that they changed that. That made sense. In fact, that should have been like that from the beginning. It would have helped a lot.
That was infuriating. Oh my gosh.
That is one I'm definitely glad they did. I had to go back and do them all anyway, because obviously I re-rolled a new character. For anyone who knows me, I had them all done on the Spellslinger, so the Spellslinger's good. But I do like that they put it in as an achievement rather than, you know, go back and kill Metal Maw when you're 50, because who cares?
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
That one is a time gate.
Yeah.
That one's a time gate, and I understand that. I mean, some of the higher bosses do take, you know, some more coordination, are a little more challenging. But, yeah. So the one thing that I don't like is the pristine Genesis key. I am not a fan of this at all. For anybody who doesn't know, that's the item that drops off the last boss of the 20-man and completely finishes the attunement from 0 to 40. If you've never touched it at all, you're done. And the big reason I don't like this is because of cred. Because essentially somebody that has, you know, tons of disposable income could go sell a bunch of cred and buy one of these keys, never having done anything, and now they can go raid, and they can go jump in a raid with somebody, be like, oh yeah, I'm attuned, I'm good, and you think, oh, they've done it, they know what they're doing, and just ruin everyone's day.
And then you inspect them, you're like, why are you all in greens?
Why are you in level 45 greens?
It's just,
Right.
It's like buying the attunement to me, and that's the biggest thing that bugs me about it.
Okay.
I hate that.
But do you really see that happening? I mean, in order for the key to drop, you got to beat the last man in the 20-person raid.
And those are the reasons I gave why I wasn't infuriated, I guess I would say. I'm not a fan of it, but yes. Excuse me.
I mean, I see guilds giving the key to people they have still coming up through attunement who they know are decent players. I see people using this for their alts. I mean, I agree that I think there's a better solution, which would be to make attunements account bound.
Yes.
So that once you attune one person, now, you know, all your alts and everything are attuned, and it's just you are responsible for getting them geared up and for knowing something about what you're doing.
Even that to me doesn't make sense, because especially in a game like WildStar where it's a lot more skill based, I think that maybe like going halfway maybe would be like a good compromise, because let's say you're going from like a DPS to a healer, you still need to, you know, be in the environment of, you know, let's say the dungeons that are a practice for raiding. You know, you still need to learn how to play that healer.
Well,
because healing is hard.
They're not going to get gear unless they do the vet dungeons anyway, so they have to go through them anyway. Yeah. Like, I mean, like crafting gear can only get you so far. Crafting gear is awesome if you're lucky, like Jazzy is, because she just wins everything. So I think that in terms of
jealous.
I am. It's unbelievable. I think in terms of what Avid actually brought up is something that I personally agree with, because it's such a huge turnoff for me to roll an alt. It's like, I don't ever want to do that again. Like, I don't want to grind the Exile rep or the Dominion rep. I don't want to ever have to do world bosses because they serve no bloody purpose in the raid attunement. All it teaches you is that people are assholes. Like, that's all world bosses teaches you. Like,
well, I've actually seen the opposite since they changed
now you're
it.
realizing that.
Well, since they changed it, I see a lot of people setting up groups to go do them. Like, they'll yell out, you know.
That was the case beforehand too. But like in terms of what the attunement brings to the table, I think the only thing that needs to be there is doing the dungeons on a veteran status, because grinding rep really teaches you nothing about raids. It doesn't give you any benefit. You can get a mailbox. Woo. World bosses doesn't really require any coordination because everyone just face tanks it anyway. And it's pretty much a Guild Wars 2. Just, hey, let's all mob the boss. Okay, everyone died. Run back, do it again, and then the boss eventually dies.
Well, it's like I said, not all of the attunement steps are meant to be skill-based steps. Yeah, some of them are time gates.
Well, I understand that, but time gates all they do to normal players and people that at least for me, it's just I don't.
I mean, I
understand
agree
the
that they
point.
could scale them back. I completely agree with that.
Well,
Like,
why are they
as
even?
they said
Why
now.
are they there in the first place though? Because what does rep grinding? Yeah, silly wabbit. Web's for kids. What does rep grinding actually do for
Slow down
you
there,
though?
Turbo.
I mean, because like if you think about it, rep grinding isn't going to do anything. It's not going to get you any gear. It's not going to really do anything that's of important to teach you in a raid. The world bosses are fun. I'm not going to disagree with that. It's extremely awesome content that I think maybe is there just to maybe to force you to do the world bosses, because not a lot of people are going to do them if they're not forced to do them. So I like in that sense I understand, but time gating any type of attunements is just a bad idea, and I think it hurts the overall player base because they're really not wanting to roll alts. Like I've talked to numerous people who are like, well, this is my main. I don't really want to roll another one to raid because there's no point because I have to do this all over again. So I mean, I think that everyone's going to have their own opinion, and there's really no right or wrong answer here. So Chief, I'm going to let you go ahead. Now that I've ranted for like an absurd amount of time.
Oh, I can take my earplugs out now?
Yes, you can. Jerk.
So, I don't know all the steps and processes that are involved with the WildStar attunement process. However, in general, I'm in support of attunement processes. I agree that there needs to be a balance between individual and account-based attunements, because unless you're a game that is all about giving you benefits for having alts, repeating content is a drag.
Yeah.
And so I think you guys have already said everything that needs to be said about the attunement process, what's good, what's bad. I'm not going to agree or disagree with any particular step, not knowing enough about it because I haven't had to go through it. I mean, hell, I'm still level 20. So I'll just leave that out there.
Casually casual.
He just crafts. That's it. It's okay.
I craft. I'm a hardcore crafter, you know.
He probably has
And
more
so
plat
I
than any of
did,
us.
The world first for maxing out all 3 harvesting skills because, oh yeah, they forgot that achievement.
Oh, that's
I did
so
that
lame.
too. Yeah, I thought that too, and I got them all. I was like, what?
That's
Yeah,
lame.
So, yeah. And I've mentioned that to the crafting people. But anyway, on the other side of the coin, you talked
Take
about
notes.
cred and being involved with this key. I think that in lies one of the major problems, and I'm digressing from your statement, but that needs to be fixed. There is not a minimum level on the cred, and I think that in itself is hurting the game. And I'm just throwing that out there now because we didn't bring it as part of the topic.
That's fine. That's fine.
Cred is too cheap, and that's hurting WildStar as a whole, and somehow that needs to be brought up. And stuff like the key being able to be bought for so cheap is a detriment, I think. So I'll just leave it right there.
Interesting. Okay. Svi, I'm going to give you a chance to come in here.
Say again?
You're up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, slugger.
Hey, easy now.
I did.
Oh God, where to start? I had a thought. I did.
Did you want us to come back to you?
Yeah. Give me
Okay.
1 second.
All right. So, Avid, I'm going to give you a chance to chime in here.
About attunement.
Yeah,
And
attunement
for me-
or cred or whatever. That's fine.
I mean, for me, you know, being a very casual player, having hit level 50 a week and a half ago, I think.
Congrats.
Yes. So, you know, attunement for me is definitely, you know, maybe someday, you know, rating is not in the stars for me schedule wise or whatever. So it'd be more attuned just to be attuned someday and maybe step my foot in a raid when there's people that can support me and drag me through. But you know, as far as cred goes and the key and everything, I don't know. I don't see too much of a concern about that, just because, you know, again, the biggest concern would be somebody slipping into a raid and the raid leader not paying attention, and then getting in there and finding out you have some Yahoo who's no good, and you have to kick them and find somebody else.
Right.
So I mean, that's the biggest concern about that. I like attunements in general as a concept. They had talked before the launch of the game about the attunement involving more story, and I think that's someplace that they fell down on, because simply making sure that you've completed all the adventures on silver and all the dungeons on silver or now bronze, that's not telling a story leading you up to this raid. It is guaranteeing that you're at a certain level of skill, but I feel to me like the things didn't come out quite as advertised.
Okay.
But there's, it's other areas of the game where that's true as well.
Right.
Attunement in general, I think is fine. It seems to me from everything I've read and everybody I've talked to that they made their attunement process too long and arduous, and I think that they would do well to cut it down in the future. I think they should probably leave in the adventures and the dungeons. I think as far as proving player skill, those are the most important ones to leave in there.
Mm-hmm.
But rep grind, some of that other stuff in there, I don't know that is really, really necessary. And I think they should chop some of that out to keep things more accessible.
I think they did say their next one is going to be something like that. Like, you'll just do an adventure or a dungeon or something and be done.
It won't be as intensive, but it'll be tied around what content has come out since Data Scan.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Svi, are you ready, sir?
Yes.
All
yeah,
right.
I'm awake now.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Should I call you Slugger again?
Cred and I started thinking about cred issues and all that drama. But pretty much, like, what you said earlier, that the attunement doesn't teach anything. The rep grind doesn't teach anything to world bosses. I wish they would make it teach something, because I'm having, like I said before, the information problem. People just aren't learning what they need to learn to do raids, to do dungeons, and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The rep grind, technically, if you're leveling correctly and you do all what you're supposed to do, the rep grind isn't there. You might have, a little bit of grind at the end, but there really shouldn't be much there. I saw somebody on Reddit posted that he got his whole attunement and everything done in like 3 days now, and that's if you go all out. But I like the bronze because the bronze change, because it will give the chance for people to learn the fights. Silvers had an issue where guilds were just literally dragging people through.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was painful. Holy crap.
Well, the problem was that you would be able to, big guilds would basically get their greatest players set up, and they'd have one person that was bad, and they would pull them in at the very end of the fight. They would get them to that one fight, and that was it, done. And when I was doing my attunement through silvers, I had people who have been raiding for weeks, and they didn't know the runs. They didn't know any of the fights. They didn't know anything for the runs. And so I was teaching these guys who are raiders how to do the fights. And that was my biggest problem with it.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much it. Like the world bosses, there could be less of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think a good solid 6 would be good if they would make them hard. I guess I view it as a casual guild. That should be their progression steps. They should be running world bosses on a regular basis. That should be
also
like
world
a big
bosses
event for
that are on the
people.
same faction continent and not having to sneak into like.
Right.
Oh, that's part of the fun is sneaking in.
Well, I don't mind that, but the Dominion have it way easier than the Exile did.
Yes.
So I mean, it's
That's
also
okay.
frustrating. No, shut up, Jazzy. Just because
okay.
I might have to roll an Exile and find out for myself.
Oh, dude,
Don't
it's a
do
pain in
that.
the ass.
Don't even dirty your account like that. Just
pain in the ass.
don't.
I really was supposed to be Exile.
See now, to me, this is where a rep grind would become beneficial. I think if they had it an option where you could rep guide and buy a summable world boss to do in certain areas, then you have alternatives on how to do the content. Might be a segue.
Be awesome.
Go rep grind, buy the world boss summons, and you go off and do it. And then you could use it as a training tool, like you were saying. Finding the world boss out in the world and being impeded and or augmented by people not in your group kind of takes away from the training purpose, because you may have 50 people there and your raid's only 20 and you're supposed to take on this world boss. So
well, I think another problem with world bosses too is they kind of made them less valuable. Like someone brought up in chat here just a second ago that they could increase loot. Shriek 28
Yes.
said they could increase
Definitely.
the loot. And back in beta, they used to give decent XP and loot, but
That
then they
was-
ran into the
was
problem of
pretty
people
OP.
grinding
Pinata.
bosses, world bosses, because they spawn more often too. And they would just grind like 8 levels and be done with the zone and get a ton of good loot. So
Me and
they
my buddy
kind of
did
pulled
that.
all of that away. Yeah.
we
Believe
were
it's
like,
just-
oh.
Yeah, it's
Few
all
people
down to just a
screwed
few
up.
people screwing
Yeah.
it up for everybody else, really.
But again, I think that's another
My
kind of
fault.
overreaction that they scaled it back too far.
Yes, they
And
did.
I've heard people even say like a daily world boss, like you have a objective or something, and you get some kind of even a boom box, let's say, some kind of satchel, and you can get some random loot from going and doing this world boss and some money or something, you know, would entice people a little more, I think.
Not only that,
Let's not go
fixing
down the
bugs.
boombox.
Yeah,
Well,
speaking
I mean,
of
just
boomboxes,
something.
can we please give me not a stupid die or something that
Just
I have?
something. I mean, it doesn't have to be a boom box.
Boomboxes are so frustrating. I hate
I don't
them
even want to
so
talk about
much.
boom boxes,
Yeah.
okay?
Oh my gosh, stupid.
Boomboxes are another podcast.
How many of you
with
guys
John.
started with all of
Yeah.
them?
Boomboxes, I'm down to come back for every single time we talk about something else like that. Boomboxes, you
Yeah.
can take stuff off the table, loot table. That's
Anyway,
all I'm saying right now.
anyway, so we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. I
Oh.
think that we've had
Oh, never
a
mind.
what's up?
I was gonna say one thing about the pristine key that I don't think people thought about or didn't care about. I don't know.
Yeah, real quick, go ahead. man.
I think the pristine key, I don't care about it, and this is the reason why. Guilds will gate that access to it.
Yep.
Hardcore, because they don't want Nimrods running into raids for anybody else as well as themselves and
So
going,
true.
I'm dead. Why?
Mhm.
So they're gonna gate that content.
Wait, what do they do?
Yeah. That's a gif.
All right, I want a gift for that.
So,
Yeah.
So there's so there's that. On top of that, Time Travel had a very good point that I agree with him with, is that when they do sell the pristine key, that's going to help recuperate losses they have while doing these raids.
Yeah.
And if some Nimrod gets a hold of the key and uses it, and he goes, and he's going to get kicked out of these raids so fast,
Yep.
he will have no choice but to go back to dungeons and learn the mechanics and
Yep.
learn the skill, learn the social skills to do it. It's a win-win, and I think for everybody, because players are not going to deal with bullshit. They're not going to
That's
deal
true.
with players that bop their way to the top. And the best part is, we all win because that Nimrod bought it with cred and plat, which means he helps support the game that he's now going to be bitching about because I can't get into the raids.
Yeah,
la,
that's
la,
what I was
la,
gonna
la.
say. That's gonna be your next thing from that
That's
person.
true.
Is all
And
the
the-
game sucks.
Exactly. And to
Yeah.
which I say, that's what I say about that guy. And that's nothing but beneficial to this game. The pristine key is going to be under lock and key with a player base so well
Yeah, well.
that a lot of it, I believe, is unbiased panic on it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But we're gonna wrap it up, guys. I do appreciate everyone taking the time to come here and talk for 2 hours. This is just a fantastic discussion, and I'd like to do these at least once a month. And I think that a lot of good can come out of this, and just kind of keeping that positive trade rolling. And constructive feedback is something that's very important. And we're gonna use this time to give everyone a chance to plug all their social crap. So, Chief, go ahead and start with you, buddy.
So I'm Chief Sarkan. I am a gaming journalist. I write for MMORPG.com. I'm a guide writer. I stream, I YouTube, I do all that wonderful stuff for lots of different games, not just WildStar. And theoretically, I'm kind of in the community, so here I am. So thanks for tuning into me, following me, and just look Chief Sarkan anywhere you want to go, and I'm there.
Cool.
So.
Very nice. Jazzy.
Yeah, I'm a podcaster and a YouTube content creator. You guys can find me on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, This Week in WildStar. It's my podcast. If you look for that, you can also find me on YouTube. I do guides and other videos, sometimes a few other games. So
And piano dueling. Bring that
piano
back, please.
dueling. Yeah, we need to do that again. That was fun. But yeah, that's all my stuff.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Avid.
Yeah, so I'm Avidguru. I am part of the Mog Nation family, and I am the host of Wildcast, a WildStar podcast. The main thing I want to plug right now, though, is Extra Life is coming up. This is a big charity that Mog Nation takes part in, and I'm sure a lot of the rest of you guys do as well. October 25th, we're going to be gaming for 24 hours, raising money for kids' hospitals and the Children's Miracle Network. Go check out the Extra Life website, find the Mog Nation team, make a big donation. Okay, done.
Awesome. All right, Doc.
Jumping on Extra Life, I'm doing one on the 25th as well.
Sweet.
Adrian Marquez, look for that.
Awesome.
I haven't set it up completely yet. I'm probably gonna giving away some art, and I might be doing away as well. Like I'll do art for you as well. You can find me on Reddit with HoloMosh. You can find me on Twitter at HoloMosh. Find me on Twitch at HoloMosh. I'll stream drawing. If my computer can handle it, I'll stream WildStar. I'll also probably do like Destiny or Xbox One stuff. Yeah, check out Strange Tales from Outer Space.
Awesome. And Svi.
I'm the new kid. I'm more of a fan, I guess, of
That's
everybody,
okay.
and
Not a
just kind
problem
of getting
with that.
into it.
He's awesome.
I have
You did well,
a lot
man.
of, I guess, experience with raiding and whatnot. Find me on Twitter, WSB. I have been starting to stream our raids. That's about it. Twitch Sp33. That's pretty much it. And like you said, we're gonna try and jump together and get something going.
Cool, awesome. Well, my name is Bazil, and I do a weekly show like pretty much everybody else here, and it's called WildStar Wednesdays, where I just pretty much talk about the topics and stuff that I feel relevant to the community. You can find me on Twitter or pretty much any social media, just Bazil. So it's pretty easy to find. But thank you again to the community. You guys have been awesome. We peaked at almost 70 people, which is just fantastic. I do appreciate you guys' efforts and continued support of WildStar. Stephan Frost, dude. We love you, man. Really sad to see you go, but God bless to you and your future endeavors. And finish strong as always, and keep that hardcore mentality alive, brother. I really do appreciate everything you've done. To Carbine, you guys are awesome. You guys have made a fantastic game that I literally can't leave because I've tried literally 2 days ago, and I was like, "Oh, these other MMOs are terrible."
I fixed that.
Oh,
Have you tried double jumping anywhere else?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
But
Yeah.
again, man, Carbine, you guys are just fantastic, and we really do appreciate the effort that you guys have done to really be open and honest with the community, and we really appreciate that. Never lose that. Never lose that. I think that the way that WildStar is looking, we're going to do some awesome things in the next couple months. Can't wait for January and to a new year to bring WildStar back to the masses. And Drop 3 is going to be awesome. And thank you once again for everyone. God bless. Have a wonderful afternoon, morning, or evening. See you guys later. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Right.